Hi, welcome to Med Orthodontic Suite. Today we're going to do a training on how to do chairside diagnosis. So the hope is either you or your assistant, and hopefully your assistant, was able to go through the initial steps of how to create this simulation. Patient is now in the chair and they've just asked you to come into the room. Now this tool is a very powerful tool for you to start discussing orthodontics with the patient, educating the patient on what the treatment options are for them, and really making a treatment decision. So we instructed in the first training video that when you create the simulation, especially if the doctor's not in the room, it's a very good idea to leave it in this double occlusal view, or if you have a cephalometric x-ray, to leave it in this viewpoint. Now, if you have the cephalometric x-ray, we'll start from here today, where you just walked into the room, patient's in the chair. This has been up on the screen for them to look at while you have time to get into the room. And now you can start talking ortho with this patient. Now, on the left-hand side, we always start with the original scan data. On the right-hand side, we always start what's called 1.1 non-extraction arch form to maintain. What that means is that the sixes are being held in place. They can't move forward or back. They can still move in or out, but they can't move forward or back. We're going to level all the teeth to the occlusal plane, and we're going to straighten all the teeth to the arch form. And the beautiful part of what I love about this viewpoint is that the simulations that we're showing are not based upon the ideal, but instead based upon what would happen if we did these mechanics on this case. And so you can see for this case, because of the amount of class 2, if we don't apply any mechanics to this and just straighten the teeth, you're going to have a big problem where the front teeth or the upper teeth are going to flare way out, which the patient obviously does not want. So the nice part about having this up before you walk in is the patient can see this, and your initial conversation can be, I see that you're interested in orthodontics. You can see if we straighten teeth, your front teeth are going to flare out. That's probably not a very good option. So let's start exploring what options are available to you. Now, based upon the information that's already been placed in, the software is going to limit the simulations available to what's relevant for this case. So because of the amount of class 2 on this case, the first relevant treatment option is a non-extraction distalization plan. So when I click on non-extraction distalization, within seconds, it's going to simulate what would happen in this mouth if I use those mechanics. So you can see in this case, that's a very good option because it leaves the teeth in the starting position and is able to make a lot of these corrections. So distalization is a very good plan, but distalizing back 3.5 millimeters can sometimes be difficult, and so we may want to explore other options. So I'm going to leave up non-extraction distalization on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, I can start looking for other options. So if I want to stick with the non-extraction, the other non-extraction option that's available here is a non-extraction with minimum anchorage. Now again, because it's not going to the ideal, it's going to show you what actually happens. So if we use minimum anchorage on this, both upper and lower are going to move forward, which you have the patient right there, so you can discuss it with them. But more than likely, based on the Ceph here, that's probably not going to be a very good solution. So now we're out of non-extraction options, and now we can start looking at the extractions. For instance, on this case, I decide to try the extract upper fours only with a class 2 molar finish. Again, that's a fairly good option for this case to consider. So now I've got 2 good options, one extraction, one non-extraction to consider, and I can start viewing a lot of different viewpoints that we give you and animations that we have to start really thinking about this yourself as well as educating the patient. If I use the animation button right here, I have different viewpoints. I can always rotate by clicking on the model with my right click, and that's going to allow the model to move. And I can use this little slider when I'm in the animation mode to really visualize and teach the patient about what the advantages and disadvantages would be of a non-extraction versus extraction. And we have lots of different viewpoints to use where we can really show the patient what we're looking for. With everything, again, right click will rotate and move around the model. If I click both left and right at the same time, it allows the entire tooth to move. Anytime you're doing 3D, using a mouse is very important. Now, as I go through all this, the hope is that I've discussed this with the patient. Patient's given their feedback. I've been able to explain what the treatment option that I want the patient to do, and then we can make a treatment decision. So this blue check mark up here is where you indicate what decision you have. So for this case, we can indicate, for instance, let's try this non-extraction distalization plan. So I'm going to put the blue check mark on this side. I can then hit the next button. When I hit the next button, it's going to offer me brackets or aligners. For the distalization, it's aligners only. I'm going to hit confirm. And now within 7 seconds, it's going to stage this aligner for me. So this is an auto staging done by AI that will allow us to see what we want to look at. So again, if I want to scroll in or out, this is the center wheel to zoom in or zoom out. When I'm viewing the staging, most of my doctors really like this double occlusal view. I can either hit the play button here, or I can grab on the and use my left click and do it at my own speed. So you can look at these simulations and say, does this staging look like what I want to be successful with? If you think that this staging is perfect, wonderful, you can move on. If there's a few things you'd like to edit, we can go through and we can edit some of those points. So some of my tools to edit here, I can change the speed of movement. So the typical speed of movement is 0.25 and 2.0. So that's the industry standard. So if I want to do the industry standard, I set this at 0.25 and 2.0. You can move it faster or slower. So this is the amount of movement of each tooth for each stage. So, there's reasons to change that speed due to, the trim line, thickness of material, maybe certain stages of the case you're concerned about tracking. So there's a lot of reasons that I can change that speed. So anytime I make a change to this, the AI is going to go and recalculate these stages, and then you can then evaluate what it did. If that doesn't solve my problems, I can always go into the treatment refinement button down here on the bottom right. And this gives me 4 tools that I can use in order to, get what I want to see here. So the first one is an auto movement of where I want these teeth to be in its final position. So again, you got movement tables that I can put up. I've got movement controls. So if I click on a tooth here, it's going to allow me to either move it very carefully using these movement controls, or I can simply grab the tooth and adjust it down to where I want it to be. And again, this is where I want the final position of that tooth to be. And I can also click away. It's going to see the start position to final position. Now, when I go out of this mode, it's going to now auto stage it to place this tooth in this final position. I also have here, when I move on to the IPR stage, I can also click on the Bolton and look at the Bolton analysis for this case and see, how all the proportions are. If I'd like to add IPR or spacing anywhere, I can simply click and hit add IPR or add spacing. If I decide to add IPR, you can see here the Bolton didn't change until I slide over this slider that says consider IPR. Now, because I've added it on the lower, you can see it lights up in blue, the effect that it has before IPR and after IPR. So I can properly plan how much IPR I'm willing to do, how that's going to affect the Bolton, and add it or subtract it where I want it to be. So this is a nice way to customize your amount of IPR. I can simply X on it and that IPR goes away. I also have a tool for changing around the attachments. So if I click on the tooth, I can change the shape of the attachment. All the attachments are auto placed here based upon the amount of movement on the tooth, and the direction decides upon which time. We have these 4 options available currently. We will be adding more. So I can change around to the different option. Or I can also right click, gives me a small, medium, and large option, or the option to remove it. And then I can also left click on the actual attachment itself, and I can use these arrows to add a bevel or adjust that attachment however I want it to be. So a few tools in order to make sure that your attachments are exactly how you want it to be. The last tool is to change around the arch shape. So again, it doesn't have every tool. We will be adding some more tools here. If I'd like to change the shape, I can drag out these arrows and it's going to change the posterior arch shape out and adjust accordingly. I can also adjust the lower versus the upper by using this front point, and I can use this purple arrow to adjust the arches against each other. So some minor movements you can do with the arch shape. There will be more coming. If I'm happy with everything I have here, I can hit this check mark. Again, the AI is going to restage this case and make it automatically done. From here, I can analyze, do I like how this case moves? And I can also potentially look at, ordering this in segments. So maybe I want to do the first 15 or 20 stages and say, I'm confident that I'm going to be able to make it through all 20 stages. So let's generate all 20 stages and let's start with those. And then after that period of time on the 20th stage, I'll have them back in. We'll rescan, we'll redo this process again and start from that point. So that's a different strategy of doing aligners now with this tool where I can buy these segmentally. So if I'm happy with this staging, I can then hit next, It's going to say confirm to pay to export the files. And now from here, I have the ability to export an STL file, and very soon we'll have the ability to send this off to Method aligners and have them manufactured there. So on the export file, I can choose which files I'd like to be exported. For instance, the first 3, if I want to do a same-day start. I can choose both the maxilla and the mandible. So if I want to export, for instance, the first 3 stages of the upper and lower, so that I can then manufacture those in office with my 3D printer, and then I can hand those over to the patient before they leave the office on the very first day. And so patient comes out, we start the manufacturing process, he goes to the front desk and pays and sets his schedule, and maybe a short wait, and then here's your aligners. You can start treatment right away. And then for stages, say 4 through 20, you could send those out or manufacture yourself, and at the next appointment, deliver those next. And that's a wonderful way of doing a same-day start. When I can confirm here, you have 2 options. You can either have a monthly plan if I'm going to be downloading STL files, which allows me to download as many files that month as I choose, or I can pay per aligner file and only download what I need. So based upon your selection on that, it'll prompt you for either to download those files or to pay for what section you have. I hope this is all clear. Now we're going to move on to some troubleshooting of ways that you can correct certain mistakes that you may encounter in the clinic.